For more on these rescue efforts, I'm joined by Harding Bush. He's a former Navy SEAL, served 20 years, also a senior manager of security operations at Global Rescue, which is helping to get many of these civilians safely out of Sudan. Criticism for the U.S. government not doing more here. Is that fair? What are some of the layers of complexity that involve these types of rescue operations?
Thank you. It is very complex. We've got 16,000 Americans there. That's the estimate. It could be more. Many of them are dual nationals and may not necessarily want to leave. Sudan is their home, and once things stabilize, they're going to be, they're going to be fine. They're going to be at home. How many of these, where is everybody? And how does you have communications with everybody? How are we going to get them to a collection point, especially within Khartoum? Khartoum currently, even though there's the ceasefire, there still is sporadic fighting, and this fighting is violent. It's between two elements of not necessarily disciplined soldiers, very, very dangerous. The other countries were able to, to get in and get their, as many citizens out as they could. I spoke with someone last evening that has family in Sudan, and some of the family was dual French Sudanese. They were able to get out on the French flights. Port Sudan, things are a little bit easier. The U.S., there's a ferry between Port Sudan and Jeddah. The U.S. Embassy consulate in Jeddah is, being helpful with, facilitating Americans entering Saudi Arabia in order to transit back home. And the same thing for the Egyptian land border and the Ethiopian land border. But other than that, those all require, if you're in Khartoum, it requires, 15 hours or so of road travel over, dangerous situations. The RSF, they control pretty much the inside of Khartoum, and the Sudan Army controls the approaches and exits. So it's very difficult. These people are going to have to transit through different checkpoints of different forces, and there have been some that have made it, and there have been some that have not. They've been robbed. U.S. passports have been taken. It's very dangerous. And then, there's limited vehicles to take people out. We can't find any, reliable, secure transport to get people out of Khartoum at this time.
So you mentioned a 15-hour journey, from Khartoum, I assume, to the port of Sudan. Is there any safe route of transport between those two spots?
No.
None.
No. The further away you get from Khartoum, the safer you are. As long as you're going away, you're heading towards the east or the south, towards Ethiopia. But, getting out of Khartoum you're risking your life.
And 2 Americans we know have already died. How difficult is it right now? Is it even happening to get aid into some of these regions? Medical, humanitarian, food, and supplies. Is that happening?
It's simply not happening within Khartoum. The aid workers cannot get to their jobs. There's no fuel. If they could get there to transport vehicles to deliver aid, the aid, these armies that are fighting aren't traditional armies with command and control and understand the laws of warfare, and they often see something like that as a target. We saw that with the RSF taking over that health lab with the pathogens the other day. They're using that as a biological shield. We saw similar things when the Russians took the nuclear plants in Ukraine. They could sort of use it as a shield to base operations out of.
Harding, can you give any indication as to what types of weapons these two groups are using? What are the specific dangers in this type of violence?
Well, let's start from big to small. The Sudanese Air Force has jet fighters. Ground support, they can attack, bomb things on the ground. Then the Sudanese army also has artillery. The RSF likely has artillery as well. Many nations were supplying both the Sudanese army and the RSF with arms. So it's not just AK-47s. They have heavy machine guns mounted on vehicles. So it's not just AK-47s or small arms.
And is there any indication which side is winning?
Like I said, right now, the RSF controls the interior, or most of the interior of Khartoum, and the Sudanese army controls controls the approaches and the exits to the city.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.